All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our today's session. So today we have a special guest, Ian Tudi, and he is our speakers for today's session, and he is going to talk about this an exciting topic. So I will show you the today topics. So it's a Power Platform Learner to Leader. So this is Arash Aghajani. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I'm community leader from Vancouver, Canada. And it's, as you see here in the screen, we have a special Santa hat in our logo here. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays in advance. And actually, this is our last session for the 2024. And for the next 2 weeks, we will getting off, for the holiday, and our speakers needs to rest for these 2 weeks, and then in 2025 we are going to line up the new speakers with new time zone and other new things that we will bring for the Power Platform Learner to Leader community. So let's going to kick off our today's session. Actually, today is Ian Tudi, that he is talking about the backing up your development environment. So it's about how you back up your development environment to avoid, costly mistake in the low-code development. So it's a little bit about the Microsoft Learn community. I'm going to introduce a little bit about our community. The Microsoft Learn community offers various ways for learners to connect with peers and experts to enhance their expertise and achieve career goals. It includes the Microsoft Learn Hub for update and discussions, and learning rooms for direct engagement on a specific topic. So you can access the community through this link, and for more information and join to Microsoft Learn community, aka.ms/Microsoft Learn community. And if you are interested in joining a learning room and the Learn expert in the community, so you can use the aka.ms/learning rooms link. And Power Platform Learner to Leader is also one of the Microsoft Learn learning room, which has more than 2,000 members. We are sharing the latest information about Power Platform in our learning room, and also conduct this series of sessions every Saturday for Power Platform enthusiasts. If you would like to join to our learning room, you can follow this link, aka.ms/join PPLTL, Power Platform Learner to Leader. And next slide is about the code of the conduct. So Microsoft aims to empower everyone globally through knowledge sharing and events, ensuring a respectful and inclusive environment for all. Harassment or degrading behavior is not tolerated, and everyone is responsible for upholding these standards. The code of conduct encourages awareness, friendliness, respect, openness, understanding, and kindness. So before we begin, few important notes here as ever. If you have any question during the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat box. We will have a dedicated Q&A session towards at the end. And the session is being recorded for those who couldn't join us live and will be available shortly in Power Platform Learner to Leader YouTube channel. So our session actually conduct in the weekend, so it's a little bit hard to for the people to join us on the weekend. So we are going to, and we actually record our session in every week, and then you are able to watch the session through our YouTube channel. So, okay, that's it at my end. Without any delay, I will hand it over to Ian, and I'm going to invite Ian to the stage, and he'll start and kick off our session. Hello, Ian.
Hi, nice
Hi.
to be here with you today. Thank you very much
Good
for having me.
evening. It's nice to meet you, and thank you for joining us today. So I know that it's a weekend and a little bit hard for you and our speakers, but I much actually appreciate this, and thank you for joining.
No worries at all. Fantastic.
Okay.
Well,
go ahead. Stage on yours.
thank you very much. So yes, I'm going to be talking to you about backing up your development environment and how you can avoid costly mistakes in a low-code development environment. So, question I've got for you is: are you backing up your build environment? Are you keeping a copy of that data? Have you ever wondered what would happen if you lost your development environment? Have you thought about doing all that work again? How far back would you like to go? What if you spot a problem and you need to go back to the previous way you were doing things? Now, all of these things are things you can handle in the world of Git and platforms like that, but in Power Platform, it's a bit different. Do you all share one development? I see this quite a lot. Are you publishing managed solutions up your pipeline, whether that be a manual pipeline or a pipeline using a low-code pipeline, or even a pipeline using DevOps? Are you only sending your managed solutions up? What was the last time you exported an unmanaged solution from your environment? Was it last week? Was it yesterday? Was it 3 hours ago? So all these important questions. Now, my name's Ian Tweedy. I'm a Power Platform technical consultant at Capgemini here in the United Kingdom. I am also a trustee for digital transformation. I have a nice collection of certifications. Some would say I have a problem where I keep gathering them, but I have. I speak with some level of technical know-how, and I've also created a couple of certified Power Platform Power Automate connectors. One of those connectors is now currently hitting 500,000 hits a month, which is pretty good. It's quite a nice thing to see after all my hard work. So check them out, please do so. They're available in Power Automate. You just go in, type calculate working day or email domain checker, and you can see there when I went live, we pretty quickly progressed up to around 20 to 25,000 requests a day, which has been really good to see that people are making use of that. And the tools are completely free, of course, as well. There's no charge for using them. I also create some community content, which you'll feel free to check out. It's all free of charge, community-based things. So that's for everyone to enjoy. One item of housekeeping on top of the obviously the rules Microsoft have and the rules that have been set today. It's not really a particular rule. It's more there are a few links in this presentation. And don't worry, there is a QR code at the end which you can scan, and you can access the presentation for as long as you like. So all those links are there, and you can go back through it as well if you want to go back through any of the steps. And maybe if you don't want to do it via, but there is a link to the presentation afterwards, and it'll be up there on my GitHub for a long time to come. So let's have a look at let's imagine we're doing some development work, and we're going to. We've got, say, a junior developer who's working in this shared development environment. And today they're going to be working on Power Pages. Just see how they're working. And while they're busy in Power Pages, they're just clicking around, navigating around, trying to work out what's what. And as they go around, oh, I'm going to hit this delete button. I need to delete this basic form. I'm sure this is the right thing to delete. But as some of you realized that because it was a subgrid, they should have hit the delete button somewhere over here. Actually, they hit the delete button on the top. And what is now happening is they've just deleted their entire Power Pages site. Very easy to do, slightly more difficult to get back from. So what can we do about it? And as we can see here, it's all gone. Everything's now gone, vanished. So that's not good, is it? So what can we do about it? Let's see. Azure DevOps is the answer, is the solution I'm going to propose to you today. So what can Azure DevOps do? And today I'm going to talk you through how we can use Azure DevOps in a low-code way. A lot of people think it's only available in kind of a pro-code YAML way. And I do have YouTube videos out there on how to set it up using YAML in kind of a more pro approach. But today we're going to use it in a very simple ClickOpsy type way of doing it. A couple of prerequisites. In your Dataverse environment, in your source environment, you will need a system administrator to do this. Also, on a DevOps project, you'll need to be a project administrator with a basic license. Now, every single tenant gets 5 basic licenses for free. And of course, so if you do have a development playground or something like that, you can crack on and do this. There's no need to spend any money. It's all free. You will also need to complete a DevOps parallelism request. Now, these tend to come through in about 12 hours. It's not a weekend when you request it, but you only have to do it once, and it gives you 1,800 minutes of build, which is more than enough for what we're planning to do today. So if you want to follow along, it's all completely possible. Obviously, as you scale up, you'll need more than 1,800 minutes, and some costs do come in, but they're still quite low. So the first thing we need to do today is we need to install Dataverse build tools. So this is found on the marketplace, the Visual Studio Marketplace, and I'm just going to show you how we do that. So in order to do that, click on this Get It Free button. It does take a couple of seconds to kick in, but as it kicks in, you then select the organization you want to install it on, and then it installs for your organization. Fantastic. The next thing we're going to do is we'll need an app registration. Now, I think app registrations are really the superpowers of the platform. So the app registration basically gives you the ability to connect as a user into your Dataverse environment and perform certain actions. Also saves you a license cost and saves those annoying passwords expire or MFA. There's some kind of re-verification of the MFA information. So we're going to use an app registration in order to do this today. I'm just going to take you through how we would do that. And what we're going to gather from our app registration is 3 different pieces of information. It will be a client ID, essentially a username, if you like, a tenant, where that belongs, and a secret, which you can probably think of as like a password if you're unfamiliar with this world. So they're the 3 pieces of information we're going to get. So let's show you how we do that. So the first thing we do is we come to the Entra Admin Center. Now we click on New App Registration, which we can find down this menu at the side underneath Applications, and we're going to give it a name. So today we're going to give it the name Dataverse Backup Classic, because we're building a classic pipeline. And then API permissions, we're going to have a blast of the past here soon, so we're going to add a permission. And we're not looking for, we're looking for Dynamic CRM, because the Microsoft brand police haven't been in here yet and changed it. So we're using Dynamic CRM, and we use impersonation. Now, there's no need to grant admin consent. There's no need to bother our global administrators with this. Now we'll copy our client ID, and then we're going to copy our tenant ID. And then finally, we're going to click on here and we're going to go to our secrets. And we're going to select 730 days. Obviously, respect your own organization's policies here, but if you're in a dev environment, 730 days won't be an issue. But some corporate environments may require this to be a little bit lower than 730. Also remember that expiry date, if it is in a production environment and you're using this for something else, because app registrations are really powerful and can be used all over the place, keep a note of that expiry date because things will start to fall over when that expiry date hits. The next thing we're going to do is we need to give this user some permissions. Because, as I'm sure you're not surprised, not every user can just rock up into Dataverse and do whatever they like. We need to say this user can do X, Y, and Z. So today, because we're going to be performing a backup operation, we need to be able to see everything. So we're going to give it permissions at the system administrator level. Just pop across into settings. And then we're going to click on application users. So not regular users, application users. You'll notice there's some other application users in here. This is where things like portals application user lives. So the application users access portals. Now we're just going to search to the name of the app registration that we've created. We can click on add and give it a business unit, which is very similar to what we give to a regular user. And then we're going to pick a role. Today, we're going to use system administrator. And that's it for in terms of an app registration. So if you need an app registration and you've never done it before, that's a very quick example of how to do an app registration. Now we're going to use our app registration to do some other things. We use our app registration to back up our environment. So let's head back across into DevOps, into 2 moments. Excuse me. We're going to pop across into Azure DevOps and we're going to create a service connection. So our service connection, click on project settings, and then we're going to go to service connections, and then we're going to click on new service connection. And as we scroll down, we click on Power Platform, and click on next. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to populate a few pieces of information in here. So the bits of information we need, 4 pieces of information. We need our client ID that we got earlier, our tenant ID that we got earlier, our secret, and our server URL. Something to know here, your DevOps environment does not need to be in the same environment or the same tenant as your Dataverse environment. For this particular situation, it is, but it doesn't. So, for instance, you've got clients elsewhere, it's absolutely possible to connect up to them. So, we're just going to grab our environment URL. There's this one here. You can copy that to our clipboard. And we're going to paste that in here. Next, we're going to populate our tenant ID into here. Then our application ID, and then our client secret. So client, application ID, client ID, they're the same thing. And then we're just going to give it a name. And for Felicity, I'm using the same name. I'm just going to hit save. Get our message to go away. You can see it's populated in our list here, which is really good. Okay, so we're almost ready to go now. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to come down to settings, and we're just going to make sure that we can create classic pipelines. By default, these are switched off, but today, if we want to stay in a slightly low-code world, we're going to switch. Sorry, defaultly these are disabled, so we'll switch off the disabled, which sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? And then that will allow us to create a classic pipeline. Okay, so let's click on tutorials. We're going to create a new repository first. And give this repository a name. And then next, we're going to go across to pipelines. And we're going to create a new pipeline. And we're going to use this classic editor. So we're going to use it without YAML. You can absolutely create the same pipeline with YAML. And like I said, there's a video I've got on how to do that. But this is a more low-code ClickOpsy approach. So we're going to select our repository. And we're going to leave the branch on main, because today we're not really concerned about branching. And we're going to select an empty job. Next, we're just going to give it a name. Backup classic. And then we're going to select a particular. So if we're using a Windows, we want to use a clean Git repository. Sorry, a clean virtual machine. And then just down here, we want to allow the script to access the OAuth. Now that's important because we'll need that later on in order to do our Git, our code for our repository. So let's see. Next thing we're going to do is we've got this pipeline. We're going to add a job to it. And what this job's going to do is it's going to be the tool installer. It's going to install our tools for us, our pack tools that we downloaded earlier. So if you imagine what we're doing here is we're spinning up a virtual machine, a clean virtual machine. We're bringing our Git repository onto it that we've set up, and then we're installing pack tools for us to use. Now, pack tools allows us to access the Dataverse environment in a programmatic way. Next, we're going to export our solution from our source environment, from our development environment. And we're going to use a service principal, and then we're going to select the connection we created earlier. And we need to add some more information in here. The information we need to add is the solution name that we want to export from that environment, and then the output file where we want to save it to. So where we're going to need to grab that information from. So if we go back to our development environment, and we're going to do is we're going to this particular solution here, and it's the name, not the display name that we want. It's just the name field. So we're going to copy that.
It's an internal name.
Sorry?
It's an internal name, right?
The internal name, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to paste that in. Then we need to decide where we want to put it. So we're just going to use this name, the name of our solution, and we put .zip. And then we're going to save and queue that. Now, we're just going to save it. Sorry. Now, is this going to get our solution into our Git repository? It's not. All we've done at the moment is we've spun up a virtual machine, we've installed PackTools, and we've exported our solution. We haven't told you to do anything else with our solution, have we? So that's still something we need to do. So in order to do the next step, we need to push that solution into our Git repository. Almost like uploading it to OneDrive, if you like, but not OneDrive, it's a Git repo. To do that, here's a script we can use. Now, what the script's going to do, it's going to set your email address in Git. It's going to set your name in Git. It's going to check out the main branch of the repo. It's going to add everything to the commit, and then it's going to commit with a message, latest solution changes, and it's going to use your token in order to do that. Now, you can just copy and paste this in. Today, we're going to use PowerShell in order to PowerShell be script. You can use command prompt if you like. So if we just search for PowerShell, and we're going to do inline script, and we're just going to paste it in. Brilliant. Just save that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to run this. So when we run it, we're going to spin up this virtual machine, run these 3 actions, and see what happens. Give that a go. And we can see our job take place here on screen. And I have, of course, sped this up slightly. I didn't think anyone would enjoy sitting around for 6 minutes at a time, several times throughout this presentation. So we can see what it's done there is it's checked out our repository, installed the Power Platform tool, installed, exported the solution, which is what it's currently doing. And then it's going to commit that using PowerShell. Now, something to note as it's solution is you'll note that the time there is a couple of seconds, and then it's 0.23% of max allocated time. So that is not the time, that is not the percentage of the solution. You're expecting that to get to 100% and wonder why. That's because it's percentage of time used, not the percentage of the solution that's been exported. And as you can see, we exported the solution there, but oh no, something's gone wrong. I've missed a step. What have I missed? So you'll see here that it's flagged an issue up for us, and it says that you're missing generic contribute. So let's just zoom in on that issue. So we need to have generic contribute permission for our Git repository that we created earlier in order to perform this action. So if we're thinking about our pipeline, our virtual machine that's spun up, which happens in the background, it doesn't have the ability to push stuff into that pipeline, even though it's got our token into that repository. So how do we solve this? Let me show you how. Project settings, into our repository. We find our repository and just click on security. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to click on build service, and then you see here where it says contribute, just going to press allow. And that green tick means it's saved straight away, which is really good. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to our pipeline run, and we're going to give it another run. Let's see if it works this time.
Sorry for interrupting you. Is it possible that we use another repository instead of the Git to store?
Absolutely. So you can use. You mean like another Git repository other than the one that comes from DevOps?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yes. As long as the repository is a Git repository, you can use GitHub or another supported repository that's available that you can connect to. Slightly different steps, slightly more complex, but you can absolutely. If you've got a suggestion, I can put a YouTube video out there specifically covering how to connect a DevOps pipeline to that particular type of repository. But it really doesn't matter. And in fact, you can run this because it's all just PowerShell. You can run this on your local machine as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it.
So as you can see there, it's all completed successfully. So we initialized the job, we checked out our repository, we installed Power Platform Tool Installer. Now, if you were doing this on your local machine, you wouldn't necessarily install because you probably have that installed already. We're exporting our solution. We're then using PowerShell to commit the changes back to our repository. And then we're closing off the job. So let's see what happened. Let's see what we did. So if we go to our repositories, we've got a zip file. Well, hey, is that a problem solved? It's not very exciting, is it? It's just a zip file. Doesn't really tell us what's happened inside that solution. So what can we do to make this a bit more exciting? So if we go back to our pipeline, flip back on edit, we've got some more tools we can play with. And the one we're going to play with now is called Unpack. So we're going to unpack our solution, which means taking that zip file. Now, those of you who played with these in the past know you can't just put them in WinZip and hope for the best. You have to use tooling to unpack them. So we're going to say, we'd like you to unpack. Now, our virtual machine has got that zip file downloaded. So we've said we want to unpack this zip file. So we've wired step 2 to step 3. We want you to put the contents of that unpack solution in a folder called SRC, Calculate Working Day. And we want you to unpack it as an unmanaged solution. Important if ever you want to repack it. The other thing we've asked it to do is to process Canvas apps. So if there are any Canvas apps in there, it'll push those through. So let's give this a go. And let's see if this works. So if we queue it up again. As you can see, still on a Windows 2019 server. Spins it up. We're checking out our repository. We're installing Power Platform tools. Now, another reason we're doing that is because it's not the same virtual, it's a clean machine every time. It's not an hour. We've only got it for a couple of minutes. We're exporting our solution from our environment. And I do get the feeling I should have cut down this clip a little bit more. I hope I haven't let it go all the way the whole job. But as you can see there, we can see the time is racking up and the percentage of allocated. There we go, that's completed. And now it's going to unpack this solution for us. So we can see it's processed the workflows and the tables and the other things inside. And then we're going to commit those changes back to our repository. So should we see what's inside? What goodies have we got? So we open it up, we've now got this new folder. And what's exciting about this is we can now see changes. Now, it may look a little bit difficult to read to begin with, but actually, when you start to look at it, you can understand what's going on And if you've got changes that happened Monday to Tuesday, for instance, you can see that this table was renamed this. This new table was created, or entity, as it's still called in here. Or this form change happened here. Or this workflow was changed, or even in a Canvas app now, you can see what was changed on a Canvas app on that particular day. So you can rewind or check or essentially undo changes. You can see the YAML's kicked out for a Canvas app. So let's see if this really works and how it would turn out. So should we go and edit that Canvas app and let's see what would happen. So if we come across here to our development environment, and we click into this Canvas app, so not very exciting Canvas app. And we're just gonna put a change in here. Just a little change, and we're just gonna republish this change. I always get nervous when you press that button. Never 100% convinced it's saved and published. And I don't want to lose my changes. So if we go back to our pipeline, and we're going to run our pipeline again. And once again, spinning up our virtual machine, checking out our repository, installing our Power Platform tool installer, exporting our solution. I think it took about 56 seconds last time. When you get to bigger solutions, running pipelines is a great opportunity for a coffee break. Just to note that to everyone. There we go. And you can see it's unpacked it and then committed it. So let's see if we can work out what's changed. Now we've got this thing called commits. Now these things take place. And what these things do is they show you what changed between the last commit and the new commit. And as you can see, if we look at the screen, we can see on one side, we've got the change in height, which is now 307. And on the old side, it was 238. And on the new side, we've got new text, and then the old side. So this is the same for all the files you're changing. So if you're changing views, if you're changing tables, if you're changing workflows. Workflows, I also mean Power Automate flows because they come under workflows inside the solution. If you're changing these things, you can see what changed. And you can therefore go, well, hang on a minute, we changed this thing and now it's wrong and we didn't want it, or no, we didn't mean to change that, or whatever it is the problem is, we're given the ability to rewind. We can also export some reference data. So if we upload a schema generated using the CMT tool, configuration migration tool, we can then add a step to our pipeline. And that step is to export data. Once again, we're going to connect using our service connection. Now, we uploaded our schema XML file to our repo. So that's what we've told it is. The next thing we're going to do is, because we want to see inside of that, we're going to use the regular extract files command. So we are exporting it, we are saving it to a file called datazip, and then we're going to use that datazip in the next file, in the next step, to unpack and see what data we've exported from our environment. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to clean our destination folder before extracting and overwrite any existing files, which I suppose is kind of the same thing. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to download our portal as well, because of this particular solution, we've got a portal, and not all portals are solution aware yet. And we're going to select a download path for it. So let's just put it in this source directory. And we're going to put it in a folder called ppages, very original name. And then we're going to get the ID of our website record, and we're going to select overwrite data. Just going to save that. So if you're running the enhanced version of portals, we need to set data model enhanced to use version 2, not version 1. Just something to note. We should put model version 2 in here because this particular one's enhanced. I do appreciate enhanced is solution aware, but it's still quite a new feature. And there's still some quirks in it. So once again, running this, and you're going to be able to say this in your sleep tonight, we are checking out our pipeline. We are installing our tool. We are exporting our solution. We are unpacking our solution. We are exporting our data. We are extracting that data. We are downloading our portal, and we're then pushing it all back into our Git repository. It's almost like a dance, isn't it? So let's go and have a look at our Git repository and let's see what we have. So if we go and have a look inside of our reference data, you'll see we've got our schema, which we uploaded, and now we've got all our data. So as reference data has been changed inside of our source environment, we can keep a track. So something's gone wrong 3 days ago. What's changed? Well, we've got a commit with the change to our reference data, which is now using a different grid, which is why this flow isn't working over here. So you can use this to help debug. And likewise, inside of Power Pages, we can unpack the inside of Power Pages and see what's going on. We can say, hang on a minute, it stopped working. What did you change? You don't remember? Okay, no worries. We're going to have a look at our commits and we'll see what you changed and what accidentally got triggered or what got modified somewhere. So it's really, really handy. However, I've written a DevOps extension because there's even more cool things we can do. So this is a free open source DevOps extension. You can go and have a look at the inside of it if you want. The Git repo is linked, and it's there for anyone to use. Now, what it does is it allows you to see what's happening inside of a solution in slightly more English, well, plain way of understanding. So we're going to add some steps that we've got. We've got a table documentation generator, so it will turn that XML we were looking at into something we can read. We've got a relationship diagram generator, and we've got a commit to Git repository. Now, the reason why the commit to Git repository is important is because the PowerShell script there won't work on a schedule. And all of this stuff I'm showing you is really cool. It becomes even better if you run it on a schedule. So your developers don't need to remember to run it. So we just need to point the table documentation generator at our XML files, at our unpack solution, and our git commit to Git repository step that we've got in there. Let's just remove that one. So should we save and queue this and see if it works? So what these table documentation generation steps do is they turn that XML into nice, neat, pretty wiki files, which can then sit in your wiki. By putting this in your backup pipeline, you've got always up-to-date documentation of your file. So should we go and have a look at our wiki folder that's now been generated? So we have, for each of our tables, if you have a look at it inside of a wiki, we've got our relationship tables, nice mermaid diagrams here showing how all the relationships are tied together. We've got a data dictionary of what all the tables are and what all the columns are. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a schedule, because what we want this to do is you want this to run in the background. Now, this depends on how much time you potentially want to lose and how many minutes you have available to you a month and how long your pipeline takes to run. So we get about 1,800 minutes available. So on this particular situation, I've decided to run this pipeline at 1 o'clock and at 5 o'clock. So therefore, you're only ever going to lose half a day of dev work if you've done something wrong, or if you need to rewind, and you've got therefore a snapshot of what the development environment looked like Monday to Friday, every half day. Haven't just stopped there either. I've also built a Dataverse for Teams connector, because Dataverse for Teams is slightly more difficult and we can't connect to it very easily using some pipelines. So I've built a pipeline step in order to get that Dataverse for Teams out of Dataverse for Teams and into our repository so we can pipeline it somewhere else. So we're going to use our tool installer. We're then going to use our step Dataverse for Teams, and then we're going to commit it to our repository. So let's see if that works. Now this Dataverse for Teams step can't use app registrations with Dataverse for Teams. So in order to get around that problem, we use a device login with the code. See, it's triggered. We're just going to pop this code in. It's going to log in as me. There we go. Put my password in. Complete two-factor. Now with this particular method, you can't do this on a schedule because there has to be human interaction on it. But you can back up Dataverse for Teams environments to a Git repository and unpack them and document them. And of course, if you're unpacking them to a Git repository, it's possible to push them somewhere else as well. The reverse of the steps I've performed here today would be to push them in. So we can see there it's connected up to our Dataverse for Teams dev environment, exporting out the solution, and it's going to commit it back in. And let's go and have a quick look at that. Side of our Canvas app. Slightly different format, but we've got the same components there again. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you so much. It was exciting session for me, as actually I learned a lot of things today from you. So I'm not seeing any question here in the comment box, but at my mind I have a question around the MyTorah. It was the MyTorah, right? Action you added in the Azure DevOps. So how about the licensing? How about is it free of charge, or it's
free of charge, open source? It's a contribution from me to the community.
Oh,
so
awesome.
It's currently in preview because I'm still tweaking it. but I am improving it, and I aim to be in a situation come the new year to document out the whole of a solution in Markdown and then commit it to the wiki. So you have an up-to-date version of your solution in your wiki, which of course, anyone with a development background will know, you never end up keeping documentation up to date, much as you may try. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Awesome. And is this any website or URL that we can see the details of this action and how they are doing actually in the Azure DevOps?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do the keep in touch QR code there, it will take you to a Linktree page. Off that Linktree page, you can get to my Torah, which is where I've got my free tools, because they're all free. All the tools I've created for the community are listed there. So there's also a DevOps for Teams tool there as well, to allow you to use a local pipeline on your machine to export and import things in and out of DevOps for Teams.
Awesome. Thank you. So I remember that it was there is an action there in Azure DevOps. It's the name is Power Platform Backup Environment. What's the differences between that and this approach that we have today? So can we use that action, or it's a little bit different with this one?
So the backup environment. Go on.
It's backup of whole environment, or
okay, yeah, backup of the whole environment, and it creates a new backup at Microsoft's end. It doesn't put it on your Git repository.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, all you've done is just press the backup button inside the admin center, which is really useful in some circumstances. But sometimes you want to go, hang on a minute, we want to see what happened 3 days ago, and then we may only want to, copy that code from that. Say, for instance, that Power Automate. I know Power Automate's got a bit better recently, but if you wanted to copy that particular fetch statement that you had in before from that action, you can figure out where that was. Yes, it will take you 10 minutes to find it, but it's a lot better than trying to re-engineer it or go backwards. And or if a client changes their mind, which I'm sure no client has ever changed their mind ever, you can get back to where you were.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. It was really useful for me, and I know that it was really useful for our attendees as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today, and hope you have a great holiday and Merry Christmas again in advance, and hope enjoy your time at the holiday. We will be back on January with new sessions, new speakers, and also new topics with new adjustment in the time zone and something like that. We will let you know through our LinkedIn page. So please follow up us through the LinkedIn page that we have for the Power Platform Learner to Leader. See you in January, and thank you so much. Thank you, Ian. Have a great day.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.